Hey everybody, Portland Chess Shop here to bring you the chess action. And the USA Chess Championships started today. I'm very excited about it. So today was the first round. There are 12 players in it. 12 players in the men's and 12 players in the women's. And they're playing in St. Louis at the Fancy Chess Club out there in Missouri. It's supposed to be a really nice chess club. I haven't seen it before, but I would like to go. And they had an opening ceremony yesterday, and they played this game. It's at 11 a.m. every day. And I'll post the link to the live analysis in the comments. So Nakamura against Hess. So these are two players that I have covered in my commentaries in the past. Nakamura, Grandmaster Nakamura, Hikaru Nakamura. He almost needs no introduction. One of the strongest players in the world, top 10 consistently in the world. He's one of the best players in blitz and speed chess, so he has a lot of fans because he plays on the Internet Chess Club. Other top players, it's hard to find their games to see how they play. And so he is a big fan among U.S. chess players. He's the highest rated U.S. chess player, but not the current champion. So the current champion is Kamsky, who's the second best player in the world. Kamsky is good at chess, but I would say that Nakamura is probably the favorite. We will see if Nakamura decides to play with king pawn or queen pawn. He's been playing often with hypermodern setups like with g3 and b3 in his blitz games, but I think that in a tournament he'll be playing more for the main lines. Back to the action, Grandmaster Hess. So I covered him in the Grandmaster Death Match on chess.com, and there's some really good commentary there. I recommend you go check it out. And they played a match for $1,000 just as a battle to see for honor, and that was really a lot of fun. So that's how I know about Hess. So another strong blitz player, and you can see that Nakamura is the favorite by a little over 100 points. And let's get to the action, see what happened. So Nakamura did play king pawn, and Hess replied with the king pawn as well. The knights come out, and now there's the option bishop b5 creates the Roy Lopez. Bishop c4 creates some I'm not sure what it's called, classic bishop lines. There's things in which the four knights could come out, or there's just different variations. You know, both the bishops can come out. The knight. Sorry, it's not very descriptive. I play a Sicilian. I have a lot of experience in these lines, but I don't remember all the names, I suppose. So bishop c4, bishop b5. And now I know that b4 is an exciting sacrifice in this position. That's called the Evans Gambit. There's other lines as well, that like c3 and d4, but I think those lines have been played out a lot. Not d4 immediately, but c3, you're preparing d4, there's castling, things like that. Like if all four of the knights come out, then it's kind of dry. So I think we'll see something more exciting. We do see b4. This is the gambit that I was just talking about, and I'm pretty excited to see it. I'm glad that Nakamura is playing with some courage and some gamble in him to attack the opponent, create some asymmetries, create some attacking, exciting chess. You can see that Nakamura's only used 8 seconds so far, which is pretty quick. Takes, pawn up, and the bishop retreats. Bishop retreats to d6, which is pretty interesting. It blocks in this pawn, but it must be known theory. I'm pretty sure that Grandmaster Hess has seen this type of position before. He wouldn't play this way without knowing something about it. But it does look funny. It looks like White already has some points for the pawn because this bishop blocks in this pawn, and it'll take a while to develop this bishop however he chooses to do that. But at the same time, the computer does like this position, thinking that White does not have enough for the pawn. So we'll see if Nakamura can, what he can, if he gets space or gets attacking chances for this pawn. So he plays d4 in line with his thinking. He sacrificed a pawn. You have to play aggressively. And the queen comes here. This is probably part of the idea because now this pawn is really overprotected, and the queen is going down on the e4 square after something like takes, and queen takes. So there's a castles, and the knight comes out, after which we see this knight come out as well. So both players trying to complete their development. But you do see that Nakamura has used like no time whatsoever. I think there's a 30-second increment, meaning that each player gets 30 extra seconds for every move that they make. So I think Nakamura is using about 30 seconds per move, while Hess is using considerably more. Hess wanting to make sure that he plays gets into a good position, and then hoping to gain an advantage, and then use that advantage to attack Nakamura. We will see, though. There's castles by Hess, and the rook comes to e1. So black position does seem good. Now this move, bishop a3, is not what the computer liked. The computer liked b6 or a6, basically trying to fianchetto this bishop over here like I had thought. This move, bishop a3, probably takes too much time, and there's variations like knight takes e5, in which case white can get the pawn back. Knight takes e5 is played, and already white is better and has attack for the pawn. You can see that white's development is almost complete. The problem with this move is black's using an extra move to attack a bishop that hasn't even moved yet, and so he's using too many tempos with this bishop, and that means that white has a few moves ahead, and with those extra moves, this bishop isn't developed, these rooks aren't connected, the rooks aren't even centralized, this rook is already centralized, there's these huge pawns in the center that can attack like pieces. It doesn't look too good for Hess already. Hess is actually way down on time at this point. He spent considerable amount of time on finding this mistake, if you will, and Nakamura plays this after some time. He does think about it and finds this very good move. Wants to look through all the complications, see as deep as he can, because it is a tournament game, and usually the best position wins in a tournament. So there's takes, and after this, it looks like the pawn can take back. He does. This is something that Nakamura does that I think is good. Oh, I wanted to give a little shout out for Hikaru Nakamura and apologize that I mispronounced his name so many times. It is Hikaru and not Hikaru, and I made that mistake a lot, and some people pointed that out. So thank you for pointing that out. Anyway, so this bishop hasn't even moved yet, so if takes, then he'll be able to develop his rook without having even moved this piece, and this bishop will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So you're trading a piece that's moved 5 times for a piece that moves 1, which I think is a good way to think about it. So the pawn takes, and now the queen can't take because then the bishop falls. So the queen is overworked and is unable to attack this square. So then after pawn takes, the knight has to retreat, and you can see that white's position is good. f4 is played, keeping control of this. This pawn is defended, so if either of these pawns move up, he can just take if he wants and still have a good center. I really like that Hikaru Nakamura hasn't moved this bishop. Now takes, you see, so now at this point, white gets to develop. But after this, it looks like queen c5 check could be a really good move. He doesn't see it, or chooses not to play it. And knight f3 isn't played, pawn takes is played, after which the pawn takes back. I think there's a little bit of psychology here, some different lines that could have been played. So the knight moves out, and the position is pretty much equal according to the computer, which is interesting because the position was, I think, a little bit better for Hikaru before. There must have been a line that the computer liked, but it's just a computer. So h3 is played, attacking the bishop, and he decides to move his rook out, attacking this bishop, which I think could be a good move. I like it. It's good to attack different pieces, put pressure on different squares, and not retreat when you don't have to. Bishop retreats, and then he takes, and this rook is able to come forward, developing his rook. So I do like his play here. It looks like this piece is active. The position is interesting because there's 3 pawn islands for both players, and that creates some chances. This bishop seems pretty good to me, but then again, this rook is pretty active, controlling a lot of squares simultaneously. Pawn up is played, trying to create a breakthrough. And it looks like d5 could be the response in which the position becomes... this d5 is pretty weak, actually. Or would be pretty weak. So he decides to take. Now the queen is able to take on b7. So now white is up a pawn. White sacrificed a pawn earlier, but now he's up a pawn. This pawn can't take, obviously, because the rook will take the queen. So a4 is played, and the queen retreats. The knight comes towards the center. We see takes, and the rook comes in the same line, so the pieces are all on the e file. There's a battle waiting to happen. So this rook comes towards an open line. It's good to put your rooks on open lines. And it looks like, you know, both players are using their pieces to attack and to defend. I mean, black is using his pieces. They're all defending on the e-file. White is sort of attacking on the e-file, has a little bit more space, but doesn't have any serious weaknesses. I do like the way that black is trying to defend. So some moves are made. This creates a little bit of look for the king. This centralizes the white pieces. In the center, like mathematically speaking, there's more possibilities for the pieces. Queen moves and pawn is played up, so we do see this pawn advancing. Pawns turn into queens, and thus this pawn is just one square closer to becoming a queen. But really the biggest factor here is look at the time left in this position. Jim Hess has 5 minutes. Hikaru Nakamura has 42 minutes. And this game is basically over because of that, I suppose. Because Hikaru Nakamura just has way too much time. He's just killing his opponent playing on time, playing very, very quickly, and playing quite well as well. You can see that white does have the better position, and this is the best that Hess could, the best position Hess could find in the amount of time that he spent, and he knew it was just a lose-lose situation for him. So I do think that white's going to be able to. I expect. Sorry about that noise if you hear it, but I expect that black will make a blunder within the next 13 moves before he hits the time control. So there's check, king up, and the queen takes the pawn. After which the bishop takes here, and it looks like this is a tactic. So the computer didn't even see the tactic immediately, but after takes, there's a tactic. Bishop takes e6, double exclam. So let's think about it for a second. So bishop takes e6. If the rook takes, then this rook just checks. Rook comes back, takes mate, right? So the rook absolutely can't take because rook. Let's see. Oh, I can actually do this. So this takes here. If the rook takes, then you just mate. Okay. So that's not going to happen. I wonder how I take off the. All right. So if the pawn takes, I don't know how to take off. Oh, I must go forward and then back. All right. So if the pawn takes, which is what's going to be forced to be played, then there's got to be a really sick move. Rook to d7 is just too good because there aren't really checks. Black is basically out of checks, out of attacks on the white king, and doesn't have too much. But the thing is that the black's best move, black doesn't have anything better than queen f2, after which queen g6 just wins the game. Because this square and this square are controlled. This square and this square, that's where the two pieces are. They're both aiming right here for the checkmate. So it's just checkmate. This queen can't defend along here because both those squares are controlled. So that's probably the end of the game. Takes, rook d7, plays king over, trying his best to defend if he can. But it looks like there's going to be a tactic here. Rook takes. Rook takes g7 is going to be mate. Because takes. And then it looks like, would you play rook g3 check? So the king can't go back there then, because then queen here would be mate here, also threatening mate here, and mate here. So there's 3 mate threats. So the king has to come over here. Let's go. So after takes, king takes, rook check, then king's going to have to go here. After which we have queen check here. Oh no, we have queen check here is really gross. That's just mate. King here, mate. Because the king can't escape this way. Can't escape that way because this check just controls the whole 7th rank. Alright, so that's probably the end of the game. Let's see. Takes, check, and mate. So, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Portland Chess Shop. I'm going to be covering some more games, so keep on watching every day. The World Championship will be coming as well. Oh, and if you can thumbs up my video, that's very, very helpful. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.